And once again, we are back. Hello, everybody. Once again, Mike Smith, Time and Space Radio Show, timeandspace.us. We're doing sort of a strange thing today. We're doing a big, long marathon show that we actually started around midnight last night. The upload process to YouTube is not cooperating like we thought it would, but what we're doing is taking these segments and crunching them as quickly as we can and posting them on YouTube, so there's sort of a string of shows to follow throughout the course of the day. We were hoping it was going to add up to probably a couple more hours of material than we're going to manage to get up online. But we know we've got literally thousands of people around the world following us on Facebook and YouTube, checking the stuff out. So we invite you guys to do the same. The second half of the show today is going to be about what we're calling China's moon. Another interesting news story that crossed the wires just a couple of weeks ago. Just a little teaser for you guys to give you something to think about. There's a gentleman by the name of Robert Bigelow who's one of these rich, powerful guys that just is involved in industry and the military-industrial complex and so forth. Anyway, he came out with some pretty interesting statements about how the Chinese space program is so far ahead of where the U.S. and everybody else are now. You can see sort of this shift going on where NASA is breaking down and kind of folding up shop almost by, putting the shuttle system on ice and all these other things, whereas the Chinese are now up docking spaceships together and getting ready to build their own space station. Anyway, Bigelow came out with this idea that by as early as 2020, which used to sound like a long, far out into the future, but now when you stop and think about it, we're talking 8 years from now, the Chinese could be in a position to be up there setting up mining operations and really tipping the global economic sort of spread the way that we know it today. And it was a pretty interesting news story that's gotten a lot of reaction. So we're going to be talking about that later. Got some great interviews. Rob Swiatek from the UFO Research Center, Steve Bassett from the Paradigm Research Group are all going to be on with us. So check us out on YouTube later today. We're back with the Harry Potter class. I'd like to welcome to the stage now Aaron and Carrie. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Whitehead's sitting back up here with us again. I'm wondering if we could talk about our good buddy Voldemort for just a minute, because that really has turned into the one character that seems to have transcended the Potter legacy and actually crept into the discussion of politics to the point where, Dr. Whitehead, you pointed out a couple of different times that Voldemort seems to have taken on this iconic, I hate to use the word hero, but almost this kind of hero status in society today. I'm wondering if I can ask you guys, Aaron and Carrie, what are your thoughts on Voldemort's character?
Well, I think Voldemort's pretty awesome. I follow him on Twitter. His Twitter is just the most amazing thing ever. Lord Voldemort 7. But as a character, in all seriousness, I think Voldemort's really interesting.
I think that's pretty serious, actually. I'm sorry. Did you just say that Voldemort has a Twitter account?
It's true. He has a TwitPic where he opens up a bunch, or not opens up, he puts up a bunch of pictures of himself and other Harry Potter-related pictures. Like, he has one where it's, it says, "You are what you eat," and it has a picture of him dressed up like a unicorn, like My Little Pony, because he drinks unicorn blood. But like I said, all seriousness, I think Voldemort's really interesting because it's like, he's kind of like the undying villain, and you have that before, but it's just, I'm trying to articulate myself.
Sure.
He's unusual. Someone said that in the audience. He's unusual because it's like, you can't kill him until you've destroyed the pieces of his soul that are just scattered throughout the world. You have, like, as a reader, when you're reading, like, through Harry's perspective, you have no idea what they are. I mean, you eventually learn and figure it out, but it's just kind of a scary thought to think that, like, if you're in the world of Harry Potter, there's this all-powerful Nazi-like wizard, like Wizard Hitler, basically, that wants to eradicate everyone that's not a pureblood, and you can't get rid of him unless you kill off little pieces of his soul that are just dangling around.
That's a pretty interesting point that you're making, and the one character that comes to mind would be Darth Vader from Star Wars, where if you go back to the movies, and this affected me when I was a kid, hate to be dating myself, but I guess I have to, where, we're in watching The Empire Strikes Back or whatever for the first time in the theater. Nobody knows the story. The book may have just come out a couple weeks beforehand. But there's this sense that Vader could be struck down with a single blow. There's a scene in there where Luke sort of imagines that he's encountering Vader and that he's killed him. And there was even, I remember distinctly from being in the movie theater, a round of applause from everybody, because I think there was at least a thought for a moment, hey, this guy's done. This real bad guy from the first movie, at least we got rid of him. And then you sort of figure out later that that's not really what happened. Voldemort, on the other hand, a very different type of villain entirely. As you say, a guy that you've got to go out and seek out all these pieces to be able to finally completely destroy him. So, Carrie, what hometown are you from? I meant to ask you that first. Sorry.
I'm from Richmond.
From Richmond, beautiful capital of the state of Virginia. Excellent. All right, Aaron, what are your thoughts on Voldemort?
Well, I mean, talking about this whole killing the villain thing, and with the pieces of Voldemort's soul that spread around, it kind of brings up Sauron, and you have a ring in Lord of the Rings that it's the whole quest of Frodo that you have to destroy the ring in order to get rid of this evil power. So I mean, that's something that's been around, I guess you can say.
Where are you from, Aaron?
I'm from Roanoke.
How long
Virginia.
have you been here at Ferrum?
This is my 3rd year.
Your 3rd year. Excellent. Have you taken any other classes like Harry Potter?
No, I mean some literature classes. I just declared an English major last year, so my experiences have really been just the basic English stuff so far.
Right. What was your take on Sauron the first time you read through those books? Moving over to Lord of the Rings for just a moment. This is my resident Lord of the Rings expert
The
here.
Lord of the Rings, when I was reading those books, the way that he's positioned in the books is very interesting because you hear about him before you really learn anything about him. And you just know that there's this evil presence, there's this menace, in the mountains. And then it kind of takes form over the course of the books, and really gets to a point where you realize that he and the ring are completely linked.
And that's where it would really differ in the movies because of the way that they're able to present him as this gigantic, spectacular special effect as a character. They don't have to do any sort of setup or mystery to it. It's pretty much just right in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I read those books when I was very young. I want to say I read The Hobbit when I was about 7 or 8. I remember having a flashlight on the sheet so I could read the books, and my mom would come in the room and tell me to go to bed. But, I mean, like I said, I read those books and grew up with those kind of the way my daughter's grown up with Harry Potter. She started reading Harry Potter when she was, 5 or 6, and she finished all of them before she was a teenager. So, I don't know, it's like comfort. It's something that I can go back home to Lord of the Rings and remember an easier time in my life, maybe more simple.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to your presentations real quick and find out what we're going to be doing for those. Aaron, what's your presentation? You said you've given yours already?
I did mine on Tuesday, and it was on The Hobbit. So it was just analyzing it as a hero quest. I didn't compare it too much to Harry Potter. I did more of comparing it to like other books that we read, like the Odyssey and the Hunger Games. So those are 2 examples of the connections that I used.
And how'd you feel it went? How did you feel it went, the presentation?
Oh, I thought it went really well. The Hobbit's something that I read a lot. Like I read it, not gonna lie, like 3 times a year. So it was just like I got up there and it was just like nerd talk where it just like all spilled out. So that was something that like I enjoyed doing, and I like giving presentations, so it was fun.
Does Frodo or Sauron have a Twitter account that you're aware of?
I don't have a Twitter.
You don't
that's
have a
too
Twitter. All right.
mainstream for me. So
Gotcha. Carrie, how about your presentation?
I'm doing mine on Aragon, which is I'm really excited. The last book in the series came out like 3 days ago. Completely irrelevant to my presentation, but I'm all excited because I started that like 6 years ago, and I want to know how the series ends. But I'm not like Aaron. I'm not really comparing mine to Harry Potter that much either, because we read a lot of books in the class, and my personal favorite was The Hunger Games, like Aaron said. And I see a lot more comparisons with Aragon and the main character in that series, Katniss, with just all the parallels between them. So I'm going to focus on that.
Now, I'm getting an interesting sense from talking to you two that while the class may be called Harry Potter, it's not necessarily as focused on Potter as it might seem at first. It's not like you guys are just sitting around, everybody's having cappuccinos and sharing their copies of the books, right? I mean, you're really delving into lots of other literature.
I mean, it's called Harry Potter and the Hero Myths, so like we analyze a bunch of hero myths. So like everything gets tied back to Harry Potter at the end of the day. Like there's bound to be some kind of discussion where somebody has a hero mom and we compare it back to Lily and Harry Potter. I mean, like, that kind of stuff does happen in class, but we do read a lot of other books.
Very good. Excellent. All right. We're going to take another quick break here. We appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. We're at Ferrum College in Franklin County, Virginia. I'm Mike Smith. This is the Time and Space Radio Show.